Hi everyone, welcome to the Your Life Unfiltered podcast with your hosts Kituko Thari and Deepam Jain. In this podcast, we dig deep into the life experiences of our guests, connect the dots between their experiences growing up as well as what they're doing today. We have some very special guests today, the founders of Bhangra Empire. So we have Puneet and Omer. Omer and Puneet, if you guys would like to quickly introduce yourselves.
Yeah, my name is Omer. I'm one of the founders of Bhangra Empire. We live in the Bay Area, California, and we do Bhangra full time, teach classes, teach Bhangra, perform, all that great stuff.
And my name is Puneet, also one of the founders of Bhangra Empire. We are married, if that wasn't apparent. We met on Bhangra Empire itself. So it's been a part of our lives since we've known each other.
That is awesome. So Omer and Puneet, if you don't mind, could you tell us a little bit more about your upbringing? You know, what kind of environment did you guys grow up in? Some early motivations. Was Bhangra or dancing always part of your growing up? Any thoughts there?
You want to start?
So for me, I'm half Punjabi, so it's kind of part of the culture. My other half is Italian and German, so not part of that side. But Bhangra was always part of like the parties that we went to and all that. We weren't really encouraged to dance. It might be a girl thing, but my dad wasn't very excited about us doing Bhangra. I didn't start doing it until college, so it was very late for me, but it wasn't something that he really necessarily supported at the time. But it was something that I was passionate about. I really liked the connection to my Punjabi culture. And it kind of gave me a way to connect with the community that I didn't really have growing up, which was just being like part of two different cultures. It was kind of hard to kind of be a part of something. So Bhangra really gave that to me. It kind of gave me like a separate, like a way to fit into something. And yeah, so we created Bhangra Empire out of nothing, and it grew to where we are today. So I'm very, very proud of the accomplishments and that we've been able to keep it going for so many years. But yeah, so that's kind of my background into Bhangra. It wasn't really one. It just kind of was part of the background culture that I was part of. And then I chose to be in a Bhangra team in college and then kind of just went from there.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
Omer, what about you?
Yeah, so, I mean, I was born and raised here in the Bay Area. My parents are both from Pakistan. So from our side, we are Punjabi, but Pakistani Punjabi. So from like a language perspective and things like that, that's kind of where Bhangra fits in. But culturally, it was, it's something that's more on the like Indian side of Punjab, where Bhangra is celebrated a lot more than in Pakistan. But still, I felt a connection just because of the language and things like that. And a lot of Bhangra actually originated in what is now Pakistan back in the day. But yeah, when I was growing up, I was heavily into sports, baseball, basketball. Pretty much played it all my life through high school. Of dance at all, no Bhangra, no any type of dance. And I went to college, and that's kind of where I was exposed to it, just by culture shows and things like that. People, probably a lot of things that you guys have also been through. And we started with some Bollywood dancing, and then got exposed to Bhangra from there. And that's really where I think for me, we started doing competitions back in college, and I always had that competitive drive. And since I wasn't playing sports anymore, like that I was in high school, I feel like Bhangra kind of took over that role for me. On the competitive side, so it kind of pushes you to get better, improve, come out with new things, innovate, all that stuff. And that's kind of how I was exposed to it back in undergrad. And I think that's how a lot of people are exposed to it, because now, especially since what we do right now, there are a lot of and academies and things like that you can take growing up from the age of 5 all the way until however old you can be. We don't have any cap. But back then, when we were growing up, there really wasn't any sort of classes like that or anything like that. So people would learn kind of just by teaching themselves. And when you get to college is where you kind of learn a little bit more, and you just have more people that are just trying to figure out what Bhangra is. And that's kind of where I think a lot of my exposure came from.
That is amazing. Yeah, so it sounds like both of you almost fell into it once you guys became adults and started going to college. So that's amazing. And it also sounds like what inspired you guys, and correct me if I'm wrong, I'm making an assumption here, but it sounds like what inspired you guys to start the whole Bhangra Empire concept was the fact that there was a gap in that market where there weren't classes happening for people at a young age. And like, I guess that's my guess is that you guys found that gap in the market and decided to create something. So that's fascinating. Am I on the right track, or do you guys have another thought on like how was that case started?
Well, I mean, I think the classes came almost
Afterwards.
organically after the comp. So like the team came first, and then the classes were there. And exactly what you're saying, when we started classes, to me, it was like, when you're growing up, you have options to play sports, do karate, musical instruments, things like that. And why we do what we do is because I feel like Bhangra should be on that list as well. Like, it's not going to be for everybody, but if you're putting your kids into everything else, swimming, arts, things like that, Bhangra should be, on that list as well. So that's exactly why we do what we do with our classes, is to really give that opportunity for people that end up being passionate about it to learn at a very young age and give them a consistent way to have that as an outlet.
Absolutely, absolutely. And related to that, I have a question. So just going a little bit about your your life. So how did you guys meet actually? Was that during one of the Bhangra competitions, and how did you guys come up with the idea? Talk about the early days a little bit.
Yeah, so we met on Bhangra Empire the first day, first practice. So Bhangra Empire was kind of a group of people that some people knew each other, some people didn't.
I see.
Bhangra really was a collegiate thing, still is to some sense.
I see.
But there are a handful of independent teams that are outside of colleges. So when I graduated, to me, it was like, most people, 90% of people, it's like a phase for them. They kind of move on after college. For me, like, I was very passionate about it and I wanted to keep going. So, when there weren't any really independent teams in the Bay Area, they were all kind of affiliated with colleges. So with Bhangra Empire, that was kind of one of the first of its kind, I think, especially here. And we literally met the first practice at Santa Clara. Santa Clara, walking around some parking lot in Santa Clara. That's the early days. Those were our stomping grounds, Santa Clara and then San Jose State. That's where we kind of practice and stuff. And that's where we met. And that's where the whole idea and concept of Omer Empire started. And from there, I mean, that was 2006. So it's been 15 years, 16 years. So
Wow.
there's been a lot of evolution since then, but yeah, that's where things started a long time ago.
That's awesome. Yeah. So like how did that dynamic like shift into you guys coming together, right? So like what I mean by that is you guys went to bond classes and it's like you have a conversation like grab dinner after, like how did that happen?
I mean, well, so we used to have a joke on our team that we would eat more than we would practice, because the team dinners, we would always, after practice, it'd be like, people would be like, oh, we're practicing, and be like, oh, I gotta go home, and they're like, oh, and then so when practice is over, we're like, all right, who wants to go eat? And the whole team will go and eat. So that was kind of how, like, I think socially, and that still to some extent happens right now. But I'll let Puneet talk about the other part.
Of course. I think for me, we kind of melded or meshed when we kind of started working together more. So we were running the team together. We worked very well together, and kind of just progressed like that. But yeah, I mean, we're day ones on Bhangra Empire. There's nobody else who's been through the whole process. So, we have turnover every other competition. People would stay for maybe a competition and leave. He and I stayed throughout the whole entire journey. So I guess that connection really like brought us closer. We just worked very closely together and it just worked.
Yeah. Just worked.
That is.
We're actually, so another fun fact, it's our 10-year wedding anniversary this month.
Oh wow, congratulations.
It'll be 10
Congrats.
years at the end of this month.
Congratulations. Yeah, so a couple milestones, right? 15-year anniversary of Bhangra Empire, 10-year wedding anniversary. So we have a milestone to share as well. This is going to be the recording for our 10th episode. So
Oh, perfect.
Yeah.
Congratulations on that.
Thank you. And actually, you guys are one of our biggest guests, so thank you guys so much for joining this.
Yeah, of course.
No problem.
Okay. So I actually noticed I was going through your LinkedIn profiles as well, Puneet and Omer, and I
LinkedIn,
noticed.
That's outdated.
yeah, I wouldn't go through a link.
Oh, is it? Okay.
That's one thing we're not on. We're on all types of social media, but LinkedIn is like, I probably haven't looked at that in like 7 years.
It's been a while.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah, but I noticed that you guys had full-time jobs, right? Well into starting Bhangra Empire. So I was just wondering, how did you guys manage that, and when did you decide to turn to Bhangra Empire full-time? I guess that's not updated on
Yeah.
the website. So
It's not updated. we should go update that.
It's a good question.
It's been a while. So yeah, we've been doing. I mean, obviously, like when you think about Bhangra, you don't talk about a career or anything like that, especially here in the U.S. So for us, it was just kind of like a passion, a thing that we did on the side that we were passionate about. When we started out with competitions and things like that, it was, there was I don't think there was any plan to make it a business or anything like that. And that kind of just happened. We started competing in 2006. We taught our first class in 2009. We had, we were in San Jose. We had like 8 people in the class. And from there, it just kind of grew out of necessity. I mean, there's just a lot of Desi, Punjabi, non-Punjabi, even a lot of non-Indians in the Bay Area. And, those classes slowly started growing. And we did it for 7, 8 years with both having full-time jobs. I think for us, when we had kids, it made it just really difficult because, or you're juggling, you're pretty much working during the week, and then all weekend you're doing classes. But when we had kids, we had to, we were just really at the end of what we could, manage together. And, at the end of, and we were, that whole process, we were growing, but it wasn't really like we were trying to grow. We were just doing what we do, and the necessity for more classes would come up, and
like people requesting
it, and
like demand for it.
Yeah, for demand within the Bay Area. And from there, I think it was 2018, end of 2018. So end of 2018, we had to decide, we're like, we either need to go full time into this, or we need to stop, just stop it altogether, because we just don't have time. We have 3 pretty young kids, and it takes a lot of time with work and things like that. So, she stopped working end of December 2018. I stopped working in February, like 2 or 3 months later. And from there, that first year was insane, because it was the first time in our history where we were actually trying to grow. And that kind of just changes your mentality. Like, hey, there were a lot, we get all these requests from people. Can you do this, private lessons, this and that? And we would just say, no, we don't have time, right? Like, we're not able to do that. But now we were in a different phase where this is what we do. And we were just, trying our best to grow from there. And we went from, we have, so we started that first class in San Jose with 8 students, I think it was. And we'd grown up until 2017 to about 250 students in a session. So we have 3 sessions a year. And then from December, and that was kind of our point where we were there for 2 or 3 years, because we just couldn't do more. Not because of the demand, but because of the resources and our time. And then at end of 2018, we went from that 250 number, and 1 year later, so beginning of 2020, we were at 750. So we tripled in a year. Just because we were, we were full time on it for the very first time, and we started expanding outside of the Bay Area, have classes in different areas where there were, pockets of Desi populations and things like that. And that was beginning of 2020. And then, so, from that perspective, it was a great decision, because, we just kind of took off. And then 3 months after that, COVID happens, and we go from 750 students to 0 overnight. So from that perspective,
wow,
it wasn't a great, and it's one thing to try to do these type of things when you're younger and you're not married and you don't have kids and stuff like that. And it's another to do it from, in the state that we are, especially since both of us were full time. So we, it's definitely been some ups and downs. But we've still been, pretty dedicated to it. And, in my opinion, is if we can, I always tell her this, is that if we can survive COVID, especially with what we do, right? Like, what we do is just the worst thing that you'd ever want to do with the pandemic like that. Like, let's get, 25 people sweating together in a room that's small, right? Like, that is completely against. So my whole thing was like, if we can survive this over the next couple of years, then we'll be able to do anything, because this is literally the worst thing that could ever happen to a business that we're in. So yeah, we're back in that rebuilding phase, and just kind of back to it. We did open up virtual classes, so that's something that has been added. But for us, it's all about kind of just building the community and having those in-person classes, because that's what we love to do.
Yes.
That's awesome. I'd actually want to dig a little bit deeper into that transition from in-person to virtual. I'm
Yeah.
sure that must have been a really major mindset shift, right? You got to think about things very differently there, especially from like a scalability perspective. Have you guys looked into like online courses and stuff like that, or just virtual classes? Or can you tell us a little bit about that?
So we started off, we had no idea what we were doing, to be honest. Like, we'd never done it before. So it was kind of out of necessity. We didn't have any other income. We didn't have any other classes or anything. So out of necessity, it started. Omer scrounged up stuff together to make a studio in the garage. So we put up our banner that we had, and we just like put on a camera and just started teaching like that.
Before that though, what we did was, we did right when the pandemic hit, we started just doing these like family Bhangra classes, and I wouldn't even call them classes. It was just like chaos, because it was with our time. It was like a 4-year-old, a 2-year-old,
and a
newborn.
Yeah.
So it was. I mean, we put some Bhangra music on, but it wasn't like we were really teaching. But we did these on Facebook Live and Instagram Live, and people just, we had thousands and thousands of views on that. And we did it for 30 days straight. So we did every day. We were doing these and it was about 15 minutes a day. But I think that kind of set us up for the actual virtual classes. So we opened those up in April of 2020. We had a great response. I had about 200 people sign up just for the very first month. And we've been doing it every month ever since. And it's just become part of what we do. So that's kind of what we do during the week, is that we teach, Monday through Thursday virtually from our garage. And that way we're able to reach, so many different people that we weren't able to with in-person classes. And most of our in-person classes are all on the weekend. So it's kind of like it shifts into the weekend from there. But yeah, during the pandemic, it was just kind of a trial and error type of thing. And just coming up with what we had to do is kind of like rebuilding our business from scratch, which a lot of businesses had to do, in the pandemic, like if you think about it. And we went through those same kind of growing pains. Had to the first day we had it, our website crashed.
Wow.
Because we would have videos and stuff like that on our website, but it was all people accessing at different times, right? But then we had a class at 5:30 and 150 people trying to access that website at 5:30. So we quickly learned that, our website can't handle that many people at the same time. So everything crashed, and we were just like, what's going on? And running around in the garage. And yeah, just now we kind of know what we're doing, and it's kind of like a, routine type of thing, but we love it. It goes up and down, like the virtual classes go up and down with COVID, right? If COVID is, running rampant, then those classes go up. If they're not, people are getting sick of like the whole distancing thing, then they kind of go down. But for us, it's just a good way to reach different audiences that we were never able to reach before. And I think it's like a great way for people, because, dance is intimidating, right? Like for people, especially if you're not like, even for us, like if we were to go to a hip hop class, right? We would be very intimidated, and we would be very kind of nervous as to how, and we perform all the time doing Bhangra, right? So just for everybody else, like it's very intimidating to put yourself out there to take a class, even to take a class. I think that's one of the biggest like hurdles that we have, is just getting people into that class, because once they get into that class, they're going to have a great time. But just to put yourself out there. So I think virtual classes are also a great kind of gateway into that, where you can kind of see what's happening. You can learn some stuff from your house, and then hopefully, convert to different, whether it's through us or to other, in-person classes, because that's kind of where I think the passion really grows for people.
Yeah, and it's cool because we've been able to reach people all over the world, whereas before we were only local in the Bay Area or any other pockets that we had physically selected studios to teach at. So that was cool. We had students in Australia, India,
Yeah,
Singapore,
Singapore,
random
South
countries
America, all
in
over Europe. Yeah, Canada, a lot of Canada,
Yeah.
a lot of US, obviously. But yeah, it was definitely a shift for us, and it's just something that we had to kind of rebuild. And we just did it every month. Like we do it every month. We're teaching every day. We're in the garage, and just the same way that we built up our original classes, we worked on the online ones as well. So
Awesome.
That's
Awesome.
incredible. That's absolutely incredible. If if you want to switch gears a little bit, we'd like to know a little bit more about you guys outside of Bhangra, and if you can tell us a little bit about what you guys like to do outside of Bhangra. It sounds like Omar, you're really into basketball based on the hat you're wearing over there.
based on my hat.
Yeah, exactly. Golden State Warriors fan. It looks like.
Yeah, it's good times for us right now, so I got to wear the hats. Outside of, honestly, like this is what we do all day, every day. Like it's not even like I'm not even joking.
Nope.
Like if we had any interest, so I think that both of us are passionate about this. We love what we do, and I think that that's rare. A lot of people spend all their life just trying to find what they love, right? What love to do, let alone being able to try to do it for a career. So I think we embrace that fully. So we're doing like the kids jump into our videos and things like that. Like they can barely, like one's 2, they're 4, like they're not following along or anything, but they're just having fun, right? And so I think we embrace that fully. Every day we're doing stuff like that. Outside of Bhangra, yeah, I'm a sports guy, basketball, football, baseball, all that stuff. Follow that pretty closely. Try to play, some rec leagues here and there, and we watch a good amount of movies now with the kids. We have like weekly movie nights.
All the kids' movies we've seen.
All the kids
Yes.
do stuff. Right? So I think that falls into what we do outside of Bhangra.
Super Pets. Go watch it.
Awesome.
Yeah, that's it for me. Outside of that.
Yeah, I mean, me too. I mean, Bhangra has always been kind of like a creative outlet for both of us. So a hobby just became a business kind of thing. I'm definitely not a sports person, but I enjoy watching the Warriors. So biased only for the Warriors. And then, yeah, I mean, playing with the kids, trying to come up with ideas to entertain them, all the crafts and coloring. And that's kind of just what I do all day long.
Yeah. And I think that through Empire, like we've done a lot of things that we're just kind of that turn into kind of like, I guess, side hobbies and stuff like that. Like I do all the music, I do all the video editing, photography, stuff like that. And that's stuff that I think that I only kind of got into because of Empire, right? Because of having your own content and things like that. And that's something that we started doing and putting time into. So I think that that's another thing, like, video. I spent a lot of time video editing, a lot of time, pictures, taking videos, things like that. And mostly they're all just for the team, right? But because of the time that I spend on it, I think I would put that as something that, is kind of like a side hobby outside of Bhangra.
Definitely.
Yeah, and actually, I was going through your videos. I obviously watched those videos in the past as well. I think those are edited really well, as also the audio behind dance. So kudos to that. So you mentioned Warriors game. I think our listeners would know that you performed at the Warriors game for a very long time, or at least a team from Bhangra Empire has performed, right?
Yeah.
And also, including that, performed at White House and America's Got Talent and other places. What's the most memorable performance that you've had so far?
White House, always.
Yeah.
Nothing will ever top that, because it just was like an out of body experience.
I also think the
just
fact that we
so
don't have,
different.
I also feel like the fact that we don't have any videos or anything like that.
Nobody has ever seen it.
Nobody's ever seen it. I think that kind of makes it a little bit more special. Like Warriors games and stuff like that, we have videos of, so you can always kind of relive that. You can watch that. But the White House is something that we can't really, because at that time, like, it was 2009, right? So people weren't really embracing social media, right? So like, oh, you can't have any phones in here, you can't take any pictures, this and that. So I think we got like 2 or 3 pictures from like their main photographer, and that was it. So I think that for both of us, it's the White House. And I think that it's, being invited to perform there in front of all those people was, is something that I don't think will ever, happen to us again in that sense.
Maybe the Queen. That's my next goal.
But
what's the backstory behind it? How did you guys get an invite?
Yeah, so the backstory is funny. It almost didn't happen because of my amazing email skills.
We didn't think it was real.
Yeah.
Oh
Okay,
my
so
God.
back then, I was sitting with my roommate, and he was like, "You should make a website for your team." And I'm like, "Why?" I'm like, what are we gonna do with that?" I'm like, "We had a Facebook page, I think, at that time. I don't know if Facebook pages were out back then, something like that."
I don't remember.
So I made this website using this free software back then and put it up on there. And we put your email on there, you put a contact form on there, just the normal stuff. And so I did that, and then we get a lot of emails from people trying to get us to perform at but most of them were like in India, like come perform at my daughter's wedding in India, come perform at this in India. And a lot of them I wouldn't respond to because like we're not in India, and just the amount of money it would take to get us out there for people. So we used to get these emails all the time, and I wouldn't respond to them. I mean, I guess it's not good, but I wouldn't respond to these emails. And then one day, and I remember this because it was my birthday that day, and I woke up in the morning and I see this email, and I'm about to like just click through it. Right, it said, "Hey, we're looking for a performance this Tuesday. Can you please contact us?" And I mean, for us, that's like very short notice. Would we even build? So I was very close to like just going to the next email and not responding to it at all. But at the bottom it said, in the signature, and it wasn't like a nicely crafted email or anything like that. It was just like one line. But in the bottom it said Office of the First Lady, and I was like, "Is this real?" So I went and looked at the number and the area code. It's like, oh, it's a DC number. So I'm like, all right, I should call this number. So I called the number, and it was, I think the what is the chief of staff? Of the first lady, but the main person who like works with the first lady to organize everything. So it ended up being, real, but it was very close to not happening. And then
Wow.
they gave us like only 2 days notice. So this was around Thanksgiving time. So we practiced all weekend. And the reason was because they were honoring, it was a state dinner where they were honoring the Prime Minister of India, right? So they called all these.
It was Manmohan Singh at the time, so that's why they wanted Bhangra for it.
Well, they first said they didn't want, they said the president didn't want any dancing, right? Because I asked them, I'm like, why didn't you contact us earlier or something like that? And they're like, oh, the president want. And then for some reason there was a conversation that came up, and he's like, oh, we're not having any dancing here. Like, why are we not having dancing? And that was like 3 days before. So then they email, you would think that they would plan these things out in like years and or months in advance. So they definitely, it was very last minute. They flew us out on, I think, a Tuesday. We got there. A. Rahman was there as well. He was performing.
Oh, nice.
Jennifer Hudson was there. I think a few other people from like Obama's hometown was there. But I think for us, it was, all those people were kind of like celebrities already, so they've probably done all these things. So, and you also, like, when you're watching from an audience perspective, you expect something out of those people. Like, people know who A. Rahman is. So, like, the music's going to be really good and this and that. So for us, I think it was very unexpected because, like, at that time, like, Bhangra Empire was a name, I guess, but not really as well known as it is today. So I think that was kind of like, I think we surprised the audience a little bit. And they loved it. The president at that time was he loved it. We talked to him for a bit afterwards. He was dancing with us and things like that. So it was a very, very cool experience, but very last minute, very rushed, and just happened in like this. Like, we were there practicing,
left the next day,
and we just left the next day, and that was it.
Very, very
Wow.
That's an amazing story. That's an amazing story. Yeah, I agree with you that I would have expected that the planning happened months in advance. It's very surprising that you're saying days in advance.
Days, yeah.
And it happened. We literally had our Boston competition the weekend before. So a lot of us had already like traveled to the East Coast and took time off work and went to Boston for the competition. And then we had to scramble to get like a group together to go to the White House. Obviously, most people said yes, but it was just like, we had just gone there and now we had to go back.
Yeah, that's really funny. So I have a different question for you guys now. So you guys mentioned you guys are on a lot of social media platforms and all that. Like, what has worked the best for you? Is it like Instagram? Is it YouTube? Is it TikTok? Is it something completely different?
So Facebook was the first, I think, where we started going viral before it was like a thing to go viral. Was Facebook. I think that there were videos of us on YouTube, but YouTube wasn't that big of a sharing platform back then, and Facebook had just come out. And I think Facebook was the very first platform where just things just started like blowing up. We just got thousands and thousands of followers and stuff like that. From there, I think it's like just like the landscape of everything. So like less people use Facebook now, or that are younger, but the older people use Facebook, right? So your audience kind of changes. I think then from there, it went into YouTube for a while, where our YouTube was kind of like was growing pretty fast. I think these days Instagram is probably the number one. But at the same time, TikTok is growing really fast too. I mean, if you look at, we have about 650,000 followers on Instagram, but that's also been a very long process. Like, we've been on Instagram and we've been posting consistently for years and years and years since it started. TikTok, we started 2 years ago. Is it 2?
I think so.
2 years, and it's already at like almost 3 people, because it's growing so much faster as a platform. But I think right now we are, I think Instagram would probably be the most growth that we're seeing and works well, and that's where a lot of our videos get shared. But it really goes, there's on all the platforms, all these companies are like competing with each other now, right? Like TikTok is trying to be, YouTube is trying to be like TikTok, Instagram is trying to be like TikTok. So we just kind of like use that to our advantage and post them on all these platforms, because you never know what's going to happen with these companies. So you don't want to have like everything in one side, and then TikTok got banned in India, right? Like, if that would happen to us in social media, it'd be like, all right, what do? We have to start over from scratch. So I think that right now Instagram/TikTok, but again, YouTube is always there. YouTube, less people are watching like long form videos these days because of the attention span and all that. But yeah, I think we're pretty even across all the different platforms. The only platform we don't use is Twitter. We have like we have like 5 tweets in our entire existence. We have a few thousand followers there, but we just never use Twitter. And then obviously, like, since you guys call this out, LinkedIn, we don't.
That's fair. That one's fair.
Since you guys called out our profile, we should,
Omer,
because we do a lot of corporate events, so we should be on there. But
we
we're
are.
not.
It's just
We're on there, but we're not
active.
active, right? Like Instagram, I'm posting every day, right? TikTok, I'm posting every day. YouTube, I'm posting every day. And Facebook, I'm posting every day. LinkedIn, we haven't probably logged in for 2 years, so it's not good.
But Omer, I think your profile is updated. Maybe Puneet's is not. Been it still says she's working at the Fremont.
I'm still there. No, I'm not.
Awesome. So I want to switch gears a little bit. Obviously, you guys been performing for the longest time in the Bay Area, and you're consciously or subconsciously advocate for the South Asian community, not just in the Bay Area, but in the entire Western Hemisphere. So have you guys collaborated with any other South Asian artists, or do you plan to in the future, just to kind of expand it even more?
Yeah, we're I mean, we do a lot of, like, I guess they're collaborations with artists, like when their songs come out and stuff like that. We'll do it's for their promotion and stuff like that. So that's what we do mostly, right? Because a lot of our audience is in India, and they're Punjabi, and so when new music comes out, people reach out to us all the time and say, hey, can you do this? Can you do that? So I think that's something that we kind of do pretty consistently from a collaboration perspective. But I think that we definitely can work on, at least here locally, and brands and things like that. We've collaborated with a few brands, but again, we've had this conversation a lot, is that we don't have, I guess, time to really put into like actually going out and reaching out for these opportunities. And mostly what we end up doing is stuff that kind of just where people reach out to us. And I think because of that, like, we don't do as many collaborations as we probably could, but it's something that I think we should, we always talk about getting better at. It's just that, for us, like, our main thing is just getting people, like our classes, making sure that we have students in our classes and making sure those classes are most fully run. So even from a social media perspective, which I think kind of falls into marketing for those classes pretty much, we have a limited amount of time where we can do that. And then I think that since we're rebuilding right now, a lot of the stuff we're doing is back to ourselves, meaning like we manage all the social media, we do all the video editing, we do all this stuff. We have teachers that teach for us, but a lot of this stuff right now is back on us because we're just trying to, keep costs low until we get back up to where we want to be.
Got it. That makes sense.
Now,
Actually, I have a question about the classes that you guys do. So, are
Yep.
there any levels in Bhangra so that you guys teach at? So, go to advanced levels. You basically learn more advanced form of Bhangra, or is it more freestyle? Like, how does it work for our audience who are trying to get into Bhangra?
So we break it down into levels. So we do teach like a beginner level, and then intermediate would be after that, and then advanced would be after that. And then online, we also offer a master class, which is basically teaching like very complicated combinations that Bhangra Empire itself has done in videos you may have seen and all that. So we do break it down in that way because if you're a newcomer into Bhangra, you can't get into these very hard combinations right off the bat. It's very hard to do that. So we start with very basic types of footwork. We break it up into footwork. So like beginner level, we teach like 4 very important types of footwork to lay the foundation. Intermediate, we kind of add on to that where we do like a little bit more complicated combinations and then introduce some more types of footwork. And then advanced, same thing. We're adding different types of footwork. There's a lot of different types of footwork in Bhangra. A lot of traditional types of moves that we've kind of broken it down where we focus on just the footwork, not the entire move. We're just focusing on the feet because once you get the footwork down, you can kind of add in your arms and like maybe even be creative with your arms. But the footwork is like the foundation, and that's how we've always seen it. And that's how we've broken up the levels as well.
I think that
yeah.
the main thing is that I thought you were done. The main thing is that it's open to everybody in all experience levels, right? And that's what we cater to is beginner classes. We assume that you don't know how to dance, and your beginner could be not know how to dance, but not know how to do Bhangra. Beginner could be a 5-year-old, it could be a 40-year-old, it could be a 50-year-old, right? So we have different classes by ages and things like that. But so pretty much, yes, different levels, all that stuff. But we always want to start with the basics with people and kind of move on.
That's amazing. I actually want to do a quick plug for you guys. So if you guys are not already connected to Bhangra Empire, you guys can give them a follow. It's at Bhangra Empire on Instagram. I believe you guys said that you have a website as well. If you want to quickly share that for the audience here.
Yeah, if you go bhangraempire.com is our team website. If you're looking for classes, you go to bhangraclasses.com. And that has all of our options for in-person and online classes, which you can sign up for right there.
All right, awesome. I think we can move into the next segment of our podcast now, which is the rapid fire round. Deepam is going to ask you a series of questions just to get to know you guys a little bit better. Try to answer as quickly as you can so it's as authentic as possible. You're not overthinking it. Deepam, if you want to kick this off.
For sure. Are you guys ready?
No, but let's do it.
Do we have to answer at the same time?
Do we both answer or just one of us?
You can answer one after the other. It's fine.
All right.
So tea or coffee for you guys?
Tea.
Coffee.
Tea.
Look at that. Awesome.
Thanks for starting.
That was an easy one. That was an easy one.
Mountains or beaches?
Beaches.
Mountains.
How does this work?
Yeah, it's only 2 questions, but you guys are opposites on each one so far.
She loves the beach. I hate the beach. I don't hate the beach. I hate the amount of time it takes to get to a beach.
Sure.
All right. Morning person or night owl?
Night owl.
I've become a night owl, but I used to be morning.
Next question. What's your favorite comfort food?
Mac and cheese.
Dude, for food. I just like all kinds of meat. She's vegetarian.
Saag and makki di roti. Punjabi one is saag and makki di roti.
Not for me, no.
Oh wow! Yeah,
it works for me.
And you can burn it all off, after the Bhangra.
Oh yeah, exactly. You guys got that system going. It's first eat whatever you want and then burn off all the calories.
It's true every day.
All right, Omer and Puneet, what's your guys' favorite virtue in others?
Loyalty.
That's a good one.
You just like nice people.
Kindness.
Kindness. There we go.
I do like nice people. That's right.
That makes sense. Okay, what are your guys' biggest pet peeve?
You're gonna get me
about
like
each other or
dude,
in
I have
general?
a
No,
technical
just
person
in
coming
general,
over,
just in general.
That's
you're
a
gonna
loaded question.
you're gonna get me in trouble, man.
Sorry, it looks like we didn't think it through, Keto.
Well, no, I'll tell you why though. It's you guys are the first guests where it's multiple people, right? Every other guest we had one person, so we never ran into that
our
issue
person couldn't
before.
get into too much trouble.
Yeah.
All right, pet peeve, go. Go.
I don't know.
You have nothing to complain about?
About you?
Yeah, that's pretty much what pet peeves are. Who else? We spend 99.5% of the time together, so who else are you complaining about?
All right, the first one off the top of my head, dishes that are 2 feet from the sink. Instead of putting them in the sink, they're like 2 feet away from the sink. Like, why?
I just hate I just hate the amount of Amazon boxes that we have in front of our house. Amazon/Target boxes that we have. And it's not like I don't want her to buy stuff. I'm just like, every time I see one, I'm like, maybe it's for me. It never is.
So you get disappointed. That's
This
funny.
disappointment thing that I'm like,
always
even
for
though
the
I
kids.
know that I didn't buy anything. So that's my pet peeve is all the Amazon boxes, and they're usually not mine.
That's great.
Got it. All right. What are you guys' secret superpowers?
Bhangra.
That's not
Not
secret.
so
Everybody
secret,
knows
not
about
a
that.
secret.
I guess Bhangra. I guess coming up with cool routines. I don't know.
How do you find the inspiration for, let's say, a new routine? Is it you're just trying yourself and just come up with something, or?
Yeah, it's
So just to lay it out, because he's always very humble about this, but if you like watch our performances, a lot of the creative aspects are always like his ideas that we all kind of like flesh out together. But like he is a very creative person, and like this is like everything that you see on Bhangra Empire, like the editing, music, all this stuff is basically a one-man show. I mean, we're all like supporters of like this show, but like he's a very creative person.
That's awesome.
What she said. I think
that was really nice, right?
We take
right?
that made
really
up for the
It was.
we take I think that we take inspiration from a lot of different areas. I think that Bhangra is a traditional folk dance, so some people get caught up in that. We like to just, not take it so seriously in that sense where it has to be like in this box. So we take a lot of creative liberties, I would say, to that. Sometimes things that are not Bhangra, we'll put that into our routine just for entertainment purposes, to keep it, to change it up and keep it. This is somebody at our door. Is that our kids leaving the house?
So for example, we just did
it's our neighbor. He just comes over and knocks to try to play with our kids.
We just did the whole the video or the performance that we did, the Sidhu Musiala tribute video. In it, there was a segment where we did like some tutting, like we attempted tutting. And like for us, we're not very like, it has to be Bhangra, everything like a certain formula, like he's saying. Like we like to explore other avenues, like not I wouldn't label it fusion. I mean, we like to add different elements to kind of connect with the audience a little bit more, which has always been our strength, I feel like. So like at a Warriors game, we will add in like hip hop beats to the mix to connect with the audience that may not know a Bhangra song, right? So I think that's always been a strength for Bhangra Empire, is that we want to connect to the audience, no matter if you're Punjabi or something else, right? We want to connect to everyone. So we put elements in there so that other people can enjoy it as well and say, oh, hey, I know what that is. I can connect to that, So I think that's been like a big thing for us.
Yeah, I think that it's like, I think that it should be entertaining, right? And I think that there's a very small amount of, your audience is going to be the people that are very, very into Bhangra as a folk dance and the art form, is a very small amount of people. And there's a lot of teams that cater to that. There's nothing wrong with that. We try to cater to everybody and make it, because that's kind of what brought me to Bhangra. I saw a team back in when I was in college, and I was just like, wow, this is like, I didn't even know much about Bhangra. I mean, I knew it was a dance form, but I didn't know any like the different steps and things like that, the folk aspects of it. And I just watched this. I'm like, oh my God, this is amazing. There's stunts, there's dancing, there's energy, it's so colorful, vibrant, all this stuff. And it just kind of drew me to the dance. And that's what I've always tried to do with Empire is like, at the end of the day, I don't care if we're winning or we're losing. If we can, if we walk out and people remember us as that team that was fun to watch and entertaining and all that stuff, I think that's when, that's how we measured our success. And we won some competitions with that and stuff like that, but if we didn't, it wasn't a big deal to us. Really, we always said when we came in that we were never about like winning comps. It was just about winning the audience. And that's, to do that, you have to be a little bit more on the entertaining side where you can connect with them and all that.
Yeah.
That's
And
awesome.
I feel this is the beauty of Bhangra as well, the universality of the art form where, whoever, if you're a performer, you're obviously having a lot of fun while doing that. But also as an audience, right? Like if I'm in the audience, I'm watching somebody do Bhangra, I'm just almost like wanting to kind of jump and join those guys.
It's a very, very, very energetic dance form, and it's
Infectious.
It's
infectious.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right. So last question in the series.
So we completely killed your rapid fire, right? Like anti-rapid fire. So you're gonna have to slow this section, rename the section to slow fire.
It's all good. This is actually not a rapid fire question, but just what's your biggest accomplishment in the last 1 or 2 years?
I would say just starting online classes. That was the biggest thing that we had to do, like was the pivot of our entire business. So, I mean, just being able to figure that out and actually get students, I think that was an accomplishment in itself.
Yeah, but that's where all of our efforts were at. We hit some social media milestones with followers and things like that.
True.
But I think that's just
we became verified.
We got verified, yeah. So I think that's just a byproduct of what of the classes and the of what we do. So yeah, I agree. Online classes, and I think that right now it's about just rebuilding our in-person classes.
Yeah.
And taking that back to the same level it was before. So like those are the two main things. We did, I think, probably performance-wise, in the last 1 or 2 years was our last performance, which it was a tribute that she was talking about earlier. It was a tribute to Sidhu Musala, who died like a month or 2 months ago. So we did a whole performance on just his songs and all that stuff as kind of a tribute to him. And we never do that. Bhangra teams never do that. You'll never have the same singer because it kind of gets a little bit repetitive and things like that. You always change it up. But in this case, with that, so that video kind of really blew up. Probably, I think it's been a month and it's already one of our most viewed videos ever. So it was something that I think was one of our most different performances ever, because of what we were trying to do with it. Because Bhangra is a very usually lively, happy, joyous dance form. So when you're doing a tribute, it's kind of like
double-edged.
You're pulling at different strings and stuff like that. So it was challenging in that sense, but I think it turned out really good. And I think people understood what we were trying to do with it. The majority of people, we always have some people that, will say things that I don't understand why, but but I think that people understood what we were trying to portray in that performance. And I definitely think that might end up being like Bhangra Empire's probably most important, memorable performance ever. I don't know if we'll ever be able to do something to top that, because of the way that it was.
Okay, that is absolutely amazing. So I have one last question, and then we'll actually wrap this up. So my question for you guys is, you guys have done a lot over the last 15 years with Bhangra Empire, right? What is next for you guys? Do you guys have an idea of where you want to take it as we look at the next, let's say, 5 years?
No. So to us, it's about our classes. It's about building our classes. I mean, that's what, people on social media see our performances. They'll see our posts from our dancers and stuff like that. But a lot of people won't understand that 95% of what we do is classes, which is not on social media. It's what we're doing in person and stuff like that, right? So for us, it's just growing that class base into something that is larger. expanding out to different areas, keeping those virtual classes going. And I think like a local goal for here, personal goal for us, which is very hard in the Bay Area because of just, you know, the prices and stuff, is to get a home base for a studio. Because right now we rent out studios from different people, which work out better from cost, but we really, really want to try to get a studio which is ours, our own, and really kind of make that our home base and people coming out of that from the Bay Area. So that's kind of, I think, our short-term goals. Long-term, I don't know. I think that once we get to, you know, the growth that we saw from 2019 was insane. If we get back to that, I think that, you know, the sky's the limit in what we can accomplish. From a, you know, Bhangra perspective, I think that, you know, we have a brand that's kind of well known all over the world, even though we're just here. And the more we grow, the more we just stay consistent with what we're doing. I think, you know, a lot of opportunities will open up.
Yeah, and I think to go off of that, before COVID, we were trying really hard to build a Bhangra community, which we had already built, but we wanted it to be more of like Bay Area to be considered a Bhangra hub. So like you have like that probably in like Surrey, British, like in Canada, right? Where there's or in Punjab, right? Where there's a lot of Punjabi people. We wanted to kind of create that here with our classes and with the community that comes as a result of the classes. So that's what we were on our path. That's what we wanted, was like the Bay Area should be a Bhangra hub. Like that's what we want. So I think for like just going off of that, I think that's what we want in the future. Like we want to continue to go towards that, where when someone mentions the Bay Area, yeah, Bhangra is very prevalent there, right? So we want that. The studio has always been a dream that, like, yeah, we want a home base where we can have all our classes and people come to us, and this and that. And I know this is kind of happening, but I really want, when someone thinks of Bhangra, to think of Bhangra Empire. And like, I
think that's there already.
I think it's kind of getting there, but like,
I think it's been there.
I want that to be like a thing. Like, Bhangra Empire, you know Bhangra Empire? Like I really want that as a goal as well, because we've put a lot of years into this. We're still here. We're still building, we're still growing. And that's just kind of, it's just been like a passion for both of us. And anybody who's been on the team has kind of shared that passion with us throughout the time they've been with us, and then they go on. But it's just amazing that we've just through the team itself, we've probably had about 200 people who've been on the team at various points in their life and then gone on to other things. But just to have Bhangra Empire be a part of so many people's lives, people who've danced, but also other people who enjoy our videos and our whatever they see, our performances, it means a lot. So I just want to continue doing that, and you know, do more and more, bigger and better. Be in a movie.
You say all this stuff and you say
Bhangra, a movie about Bhangra, right?
Where did that come from?
I'm just manifesting. I'm manifesting right now.
Like completely on one track, and then randomly, like, you know, go to the moon.
Netflix original. Netflix original.
Real talk is the community. Like that's always been.
We're just going back now.
Yeah. Yeah, that was just like, you know, just like out there. Understood. You know, White House out there.
It's definitely possible. You just have to just find that platform that wants to do like Hulu original, Netflix original. I mean, there's so many options now, right? YouTube original.
Yeah.
One of those platforms will pick it up.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I have something totally different to throw out there. Maybe you guys can democratize it, like they did with Zumba, right? Because it's such a physical dance form. So that's another idea.
Yeah, no, the Zumba model is something that, you know, really, really kind of like blew up a lot. And it's a lot, you can see like a lot of people who are in the South Asian dance side start to try to do stuff like that. And I think that there's a lot into that. We haven't put as much as we want, like to go and get into like these certifications and things like that, but that is something that's on our list as well, because, you know, like that's the true way that you can grow, right? Where you're not really worried about the students, you're worried about training people to actually teach, which is a whole different level, which we do here locally, but we don't do that to everybody.
Got it. Well, we'll definitely be rooting for you guys. We'll be cheering from outside for your success in the coming years, and all the very best from both of us for your next adventures.
Thank you guys so much for having us.
Yeah, I'll do one final plug, and then Deepam has a special wrap-up question that he always asks, so let him take care of that. But if you guys are not already connected with Your Life Unfiltered on Instagram or have not listened to the podcast, please do so. We would absolutely love to hear your perspectives. Thank you guys for being on, and Deepam, for your final question.
Yeah. For just a final question, do you guys have any recommendations for our listener? And a recommendation could be a book or a movie or a podcast, TV show, whatever you're recently watched that you recommend.
Go ahead.
That's not Bhangra related. Oh man.
That's not.
I don't read much. I don't have much time outside of children's books, but I started reading the newest book from Lily Singh, Be a Triangle.
Mm-hmm.
It's cool so far. I haven't finished it yet, but I like her perspective on getting kind of meditating and kind of visualizing what you want. And I kind of feel like that kind of is relevant to me right now. So I'll let you know after I finish it, but it sounds good so far.
All right. What about you, Omer?
Oh man, recommendations. I haven't read much. I used to read a lot. I haven't read that much recently. But
any movie you watched?
So I can't. So we watch kids movies, right?
Super Pets.
Yeah. But I can't. Yeah. I can't watch movies anymore. They're just too long for me. I don't because we have young kids, so we can't watch 2 hours at a time. We can watch 20 minutes at a time before one of the kids has a tantrum or something like that. So I think I've been more into TV shows these days. From that, so Netflix shows, Ozark, Stranger Things, those type of things.
Awesome.
I'm excited about the new Game of Thrones show that's coming out. There is one. So I was a big Game of Thrones fan, and then I wasn't after it ended. Not because it ended. If you'd watched, you'd understand.
Not a fan, so I didn't watch that.
But I'm gonna give it another chance. So I'm excited about that. So.
Yeah, House of Dragon. So I'm a fan as well. So it actually just dropped yesterday. So you have some great episodes to hopefully check out. I haven't seen it yet.
Wait,
but
it already dropped?
Yeah, yesterday. House of Dragons.
See,
you just learned something.
I didn't even know that. I thought it was Sundays or something.
Well, I don't know when the cadence is of when they drop new episodes, but I know that at least the first episode was released yesterday.
Well, there you go. I know what I'm doing tonight. Thank you. Yes.
All right. Well, awesome. Thank you all for joining. That is it for us for today. This was absolutely amazing. Incredible to hear more about your guys' story. Thank you all for listening.
Thank you so much.
Have a great rest of your day.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Puneet and Omer, for your time. It's great catching up with you.
Thank you
for having us.